Hello, guys. Thank you for joining us for another week of Fashion Bytes Chat. Hope you've been having a good week. I'm Hillary, founder of the Fashion Bytes platform. We're here to support and nurture creative entrepreneurs, filling in the gap between education and what happens in real life. This is our way to collaborate, connect, and share. We really hope that the information that we provide is practical and useful. We have been running these events for a little while, since June. So if you have missed a week, please feel free to catch up on IGTV. We are delighted to have Walpole's CEO, Helen Brocklebank, with us today. We're just waiting for her to come on board, and it will be great. Be great.
Hiya, how are you?
Hello, good, how are you?
I'm very, very well. Nice. Let me just make sure my phone is on silent. There we go.
Okay.
Should be fine.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. It's nice to be doing something like this. It's been I hope it's going to take my mind off the next lockdown and all that kind of crazy stuff, because that's
well, maybe not.
Maybe
not.
Yeah.
Yes.
It keeps on giving.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Helen, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Before we dive into the questions, please tell us a bit about you.
Well, I'm Helen Brocklebank. I'm the Chief Executive of Walpole, and Walpole is the trade association. It's a membership body for British luxury brands, and there are 270 member brands, from Alexander McQueen and Burberry to kind of Wedgwood and Rolls-Royce and Harrods and Fortnum and Mason. All there's a Mulberry. And actually lots and lots of small and exciting businesses. So somebody like Dyewear, Joanna Dye, is on our Brands of Tomorrow programme. So we're not just about the big names. There's lots of really exciting up and coming ones too.
Right.
And the business of the organisation, it's a non-profit. It's there to protect and promote and develop the British luxury sector.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, let's start with a simple one. How would you define British luxury?
Well, you say that's a simple one. and it really isn't. Although there's some really special characteristics. So, luxury as a whole is a European phenomenon with an international market. So 80% of luxury production is in Europe. There's a little bit of American luxury, kind of Ralph Lauren being a good one to kind of mention. But on the whole, luxury is mainly that the kind of the famous names that you recognise. But there are some interesting national characteristics. So whilst the business model is the same, it's a common business model throughout Europe. It's a very integrated business across Europe. British luxury, sorry, I said it wasn't a very simple question. There's a really interesting kind of maverick spirit about British luxury. So Alexander McQueen is probably the easiest way that I can explain that. So if you think of the extraordinary avant-garde vision of Alexander McQueen, then, but also the fact, then he was kind of, a really futuristic thinker, really avant-garde thinker, an extraordinary artist, but also he was supersonically brilliantly trained in craftsmanship. So he learnt his skill on Savile Row. So I think if I was going to try and put, British luxury into a nutshell, which I haven't done very well at all, it's that kind of contradiction of incredible craftsmanship and skill with innovation and breadth of vision. What Alexander McQueen always said was, if you're going to break the rules, you've got to know what the rules are in the first place. And I think that's it. Does that kind of help? Yes. I suppose. Yes. Yes. I would also add that actually British luxury is very, if you contrast it with French luxury, British luxury is much more democratic. So in the UK, luxury isn't really about the price. Anybody should be able to have something they consider to be luxurious, and my luxury might be different from your luxury. And I think in the time of lockdown and non-essential shopping being closed, we're quite focused on the things that make us feel beautiful and happy and good and cherished and love, and all those kind of things that luxury does, and that might be, I've got an incredible cup of tea here from, Fortnum Mason tea, the very, very best tea I could possibly buy in a lovely Wedgwood cup. That's a luxury for me, that makes me happy, but it's not, a Cartier Panther bracelet costing £1 trillion. So it's not about the price tag. I also think if you've got to put, so you've got motor mouth here, I'm really sorry, try and define British luxury. There's a I'm going to give you William Morris as well as Alexander McQueen. So William Morris said, have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful and consider to be beautiful. So it's that combination of form and function, of utility and beauty. And actually that goes all the way through luxury. So think about the the most iconic British luxury fashion product, a Burberry trench coat. Right. I mean, that came about because, it's a blooming useful raincoat. I mean, that's the thing. It's got to have some practical use, as well as being this incredible Riccardo Tisci vision. But but it's so that's we're not the French are more about la pour la. In France, you can have that very haute view of luxury, where it is just very decorative and very, very beautiful. But we can't really cope with that in this country. There's got to be something a little bit more either subversive or just it's got to work. It's got to keep the rain off.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned being accessible to everyone. Now, I think I have an old-fashioned view of luxury where I think it's, for the more mature, I won't say older, the more mature, wealthier person. But Gen Z is buying a lot of luxury. That's correct, is it not?
Yeah, I think, there is a point in your life where your money's not going to your rent, it just comes, and then you can start to think about spoiling yourself a little bit more than you might do if you're in your early 20s. But actually, when you've got some disposable income, what's happened within the luxury sector as a whole, whether it's France or Italy, wherever that or Britain, wherever it's come from, is that the awareness of what luxury is much higher. So digital gives an incredible lens into desirable, playful, beautiful things. And also the brands are kind of really good about traversing that. So if I come back to Burberry, Riccardo Tisci is really clever. He remembers what it was like to be poor student at St Martin's, really loving cool stuff. Yeah. So he does a t-shirt which is super, super cool, and it comes out in a kind of a very limited edition drop, but you can afford to buy that. And then then one day you might think, well, actually that amazing Burberry bag, or the or the trench coat, or the whatever that is. So he kind of spans street to kind of haute luxe, and I think it's a much more stretched thing than it ever was. It's not the preserve of the super rich, right? Although of course that helps, because then you can go on a trolley dash around Harrods and buy whatever you want, and it's all, well, that'd be amazing. But it doesn't have to be. The thing that makes you most happy should be accessible from the brand that you most love.
Absolutely. Now, on a little bit more serious topic, how should businesses prepare in relation to Brexit?
Well, this is, of course, a question that we've been answering since June 2016. Well, not me, because I only joined Walpole in February 2017, but it's really difficult with what 8 weeks to go before D-Day, you know, before that cliff edge of the 31st of you know, of 31st of December. God, I couldn't even remember what the month. Where are we? Who are we? You know, you've got to do some really simple things. So if you export to, you know, cross, you know, you need to kind of simple basic stuff like an EORI number, EORI, and there is actually the government has put out some very good advice about that. You should be ideally having enough stock to fulfill orders in case there are delays. I mean, inevitably there will be delays at customs. And I would also say that if you haven't thought through any of this stuff already, you really need to get weaving, because it will be different, you know, and there are things that we just don't know, but things about how do I get my goods from one country to another is probably the question you want to be answering. We've got obviously lots on our website, but if I was going to say to any brand, if you want a really easy win and a kind of, you know, 101 for getting ready for Brexit, the CBI website is really, really good. So the Confederation of British Industry, they've got a kind of a Brexit hub, and it just gives you that advice. So just, you know, go there and do the practical things. I mean, the truth of the matter, of course, is that we don't really quite know what it will bring. So, because that deal is still not done, and we are also worried about the, you know, the cliff edge of a disorderly Brexit.
Right, and you definitely, I'm thinking you think that growth for the sector will be affected if there was no deal.
Well, it's really difficult to say that in the context of COVID. So if you'd asked me that question 12 months ago, I mean, even 8 months ago, I'd have said it's very clear, actually, in a no-deal Brexit, because we'd run the numbers with Frontier Economics, a very respected economic modelling firm, and I think British luxury was going to, you know, was in line to lose about £9 billion in the event of a no-deal Brexit in exports. I mean, that's a very, very big number. 42% of our exports in the sector are to the EU. So that's a challenge. And then, of course, there's a knock-on effect. I mean, some of that is mitigated by the fact that we have got to deal with Japan now. So, and that's a really important market for, small but very important market for menswear, actually, and for lots of very cool fashion brands. So, you know, it kind of remains to be seen. I think the challenge of that is that that kind of figure becomes a little bit insignificant in the face of the kind of the global challenges of the pandemic, because, you know, if that was all we were talking about, I think we'd kind of right now be fairly happy. But so it's a difficult, you know, Brexit's a really difficult, you know, it's just difficult in the context of, it's additionally difficult in the context of COVID.
Right.
I mean, one of the things that's come out of it that we're doing a lot on at the moment is the the decision from the Chancellor about the abolition of tax-free shopping.
Yes.
So that is a Brexit connected decision, because you know, on the 31st of December, the rules are from the WTO that you either give tax-free shopping to everybody, including the EU, or you give it to nobody. So, and the Chancellor's chosen the nobody option. Now that's that's a bit of a problem, because actually mostly these businesses are very robust. They are having an awful time with COVID, but they think they can recover quite quickly if the business model returns to normal. And the business model really depends on having international visitors in this country spending at the kind of level they were before. And if you put something in the way of that, and abolishing tax-free shopping, which is kind of a nice, you know, juicy little bit of incentive for somebody from China or the GCC, so high spending customers, then that presents a real problem, you know, because you're going to come to Britain to have a, I don't know, have a lovely look at Buckingham Palace or something, and you know, maybe a cup of tea at the Savoy, I don't know, but then you're going to think, well, am I going to, you know, all the lovely things I was going to buy, I'm going to buy them in Paris because I can get them 20% cheaper. So, you know, the particularly Chinese customer is very price sensitive. So and so you're, you know, that makes it uncompetitive. And frankly, whilst British luxury is all over the, you know, whatever the opportunity is of global Britain, what we're really not all over is being made uncompetitive with Europe. So there you go, off my soapbox now.
Well, maybe we can add to that a little bit. So I've read about the free ports. Now, do you think that will be beneficial? Is that to replace like the tax-free shopping with the making all the free ports and tax incentive for investment and that kind of thing? Do you have a view on free ports?
I think that just is, I mean, you can't, you putting that in a kind of VAT-free or kind of, you know, a tax-free shopping conversation is like comparing, it's like apples and pears. So you have to take those two apart. One, tax-free shopping is a consumer benefit and a consumer incentive, whereas free ports is really is a kind of much more of a business thing. I mean, anything that helps move goods over borders in the cheapest and most effective and most highly incentivized way possible is a good thing for business. I think we just have to wait and see, really. I think there will be a deal. I think it's going to be a fairly a kind of, you know, sketchy deal, you know, a diet deal. It might be oven ready deal, but it's certainly going to be a diet ready meal rather than some big feast. But we just kind of wait and see how it, you know, how it evolves. I think the most important thing though is that relationships between suppliers across Europe and British fashion brands particularly are really well established. So, and often those strong vertically integrated supply relationships will help you get through some of the bumps, the legislative bumps in the road that might come about from Brexit.
Okay. Before I move on, there is a question submitted. What is the best way to stand out as a luxury brand?
Good blimey, you and your $64 million questions. I think you've got to be super authentic. So whatever is the you-ness of you is what you've got to stick to. You know, you can't be all things to all people. You have to have a really distinctive proposition. You don't necessarily need to be developing something entirely new and radical, but you need to be doing it at the very best of your capability. Think about who your competitors are. Think about who's doing what. The ones that stand out are the brands and the designers that have got a really clear vision, and they're able to then make sure there's an emotional connection with a customer. And that, you know, at the moment that really means using social media really effectively.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, you've done some things as well, but I'm not going to, if we get into that, we'll be here all day.
Just to switch gears a little bit, when it comes to sustainability, do you think that luxury brands have somewhat of an easier path to becoming sustainable, because it can be kind of a costly venture?
I think they do. I think they may have an advantage, but and I'll come back to that actually. But I think there's a responsibility actually as a luxury brand. You have to be sustainable. You can't be. It's going to be as important as a feature of luxury as craftsmanship has always been. And if you know, the only luxury I think is a clear conscience. If you're not committed to doing the very best by people and planet, then you're just not luxury, because luxury means being the best you can be.
Right.
And if you're not thinking about your impact on the planet, or your or the way you treat people, you know, in your whole supply chain, and then also your customers as well, then what are you saying? What are, you know, are you luxury? I mean, you're not. It is a journey, so everybody is you know, is on some, you know, a slightly different stage, but you've got to get there. I do think it's easier for luxury because you are really committed to using the very, very best materials, or you should be. You shouldn't be cutting the corners on those things. If you're if you've got, you tend to have very closely knit supply. I mean, I've talked about supply chain a lot, but you're kind of vertically integrated, very close supplier relationships, means that you can trace your impact back, and you should be tracing your impact back. So that's a little bit easier. And you do also have a customer that, if they're convinced that you're delivering them the best, then they're not going to be looking for that to be, you know, to be produced for you for a, you know, for a £5, you know, when we were not Primark and we're not Boohoo. So I think it's a combination. You've got, you know, the will of the company, the leadership of the company needs to be really committed. You're, as a luxury brand, you haven't got a 3-year horizon. You've got what Christina Blahnik of Manolo Blahnik calls a 300-year business plan. You know, so you're very committed to making sure there's a planet on which to be a great luxury brand, you know, in the first place. You know, you don't want to let the planet burn because you've got no business if you've got that long-term thing. And also you've got a customer that demands it. So all of those things are, you know, are super important.
Okay.
That answers your question. There was a lot in there.
Yes, no, really, really good, really good. Please chat to us about Brands of Tomorrow, that initiative you have for young brands.
Oh, Brands of Tomorrow is fantastic. So so British luxury is worth £48 billion, I mean, pre-COVID, right? So, and it's had an incredible trajectory of growth. So the last 5 years, it's grown 49%. Now, not all of that growth comes from the big players, the established brands, the kind of the ones that have been around since 1607 or whatever it is. There's a really strong pipeline in this country, particularly of amazing entrepreneurial, creative people who are those brands of the future. So about 13 years ago, Walpole thought, right, we need to do something really interesting and practical, actually, to help the brands of the future on their way. How do we create that economic pipeline of growth for the whole sector? So every year we invite applications and we choose from a very big pool, actually, 12 brands. They're fledgling, they're not startup. So you need to have been going for around 3 years, ideally, so that you've kind of got your head around where you are, you've knocked off the edges, you've kind of got a proof of concept. You're going to be turning over more than £200,000, but less than 5 million. And depending on what business category in, you could be nearer the top or, you know, at either ends of that. And you need to be a British brand, so you need to be registered in Britain and have something that you feel is kind of, there's a reason for you to have launched your brand in this country. And you need to be positioned in the luxury sector, I mean, within that kind of flexibility I've described about what luxury is. So from kind of aspirational premium to maybe something super luxe. And then we interview about 26 brands, which is very Dragon's Den, and the 12 successful brands get taken through a programme that lasts the whole year of mentoring and masterclasses, and immersed in the whole Walpole network. So you're never more than one phone call away or one connection away by email or by in person from the person that can really help you. So if you're Araminta Campbell, who is an amazing Scottish weaver, beautiful products made from I'm going to say llama, but I don't mean llama, do I think I mean alpaca. There we go. Went completely mad. And also bespoke tartans. She did the whole of Fife House, if you've ever looked at that on Instagram or on the internet. Really, really amazing, creative, beautiful person. she wants to be in Harrods. So it was dead easy for us to go, dear Michael at Harrods, can you chat to Araminta, who's one of our brands of tomorrow? So you get a special spotlight as well. So the purpose of that, you don't get any money. It doesn't cost you anything to be on it, but we believe in you. And we kind of wrap you in all the support that the network can give. It's a very collegiate sector, British luxury. And so you get helped on your on your way to your next level. And Amelia Wickstead's been through the programme, and all of our Brown and Bremont watches, Miller Harris, Nightingale English sparkling wine. Flower Box. Names that you've kind of really, you've really heard of have kind of come through that programme. And I think of the 112 that have completed the programme since it was founded, 98 of those businesses are still in business. So we have businesses with an incredibly high success rate as well.
Oh, amazing. That's amazing. You may have touched on it already, but what piece of advice would you give to someone entering luxury industry now?
I think you need a great creative idea and a really sound business plan. Okay. So, and those two things are important. What I'm looking for when I interview brands of tomorrow, when we interview them, is somebody that has a great idea and has really thought about their point of difference. But they might be ideally a team of two people, and you've got a great creative person and you've got a really great kind of chief exec type, operations type, CFO kind of businessy person. And that, if you've got those two people coming together and they get on like a house on fire, and they're kind of two sides of the same coin, that will give you some success. But right now, I would say the market is very difficult. But if you're digital first, you've got a point of difference, you've got a really secure supply chain, you've got really good access to funding, you're bootstrapped, you're lean, you're hungry, you can really make it work.
Wow.
The difficulties have never been greater, but the barriers to entry have never been lower. Right. We're all, you've got our attention, we're all at home staring at screens. This is a never to be repeated moment. I hope, but it's it's an opportunity right now.
Yes, definitely. Great. All being well, what is your vision for British luxury?
Well, my vision for British luxury is that the UK is the very best place in the whole world to grow a luxury brand. So that's a very big vision. I think we're really good in this country at helping entrepreneurs to succeed. It's very easy to start a business in the UK. It's more difficult actually to get the investment for premium brands and kind of consumer goods in general. So you can get off the ground and you can get to a certain level, but actually I suppose if I'm talking about the nitty-gritty of my vision, it's how do we get the investment environment right so that brands can not just get off the ground and do something phenomenal and beautiful, but can also scale because they've got the right kind of investment. So one of the things that I've done to help that on its way is that Walpole's created a partnership with an investment fund called Rolls-Royce, and they are a boutique VC firm. They really get kind of premium and kind of high-end sector. They've got the backing of the British Business Bank. They've got some good investments. So Dyewear, Joanna Dye, amazing kind of workwear brand. Castor is a men's sportswear brand, and a couple of really good things like that. They've got some good legs. So kind of connecting that investment thing. So how do we harness that entrepreneurial creative spirit and get these brands to kind of to fly, to reach their full potential?
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, that was absolutely inspirational. But also to end on a very positive note, I think businesses should be quite proud of themselves for adapting during this time. Would you agree?
Oh my God, you should be. If you've got through this and you think and you can get through to the other side of Christmas, then you need an absolute bloody medal. I mean, it's been the toughest time, I think, for leaders of business. But one of the things that I've seen is actually this extraordinary, in the most difficult circumstances, this extraordinary explosion of creativity, of a real acceleration of kind of digitization. And I mean, I've seen people kind of hacking Zoom to make it work for a kind of real life shopping moment. I mean, all sorts of things going. We've got, I mean, at the very big end of the market, you've got Burberry experimenting with gamification and social retail and kind of all sorts of things. So it's been a time of real experimentation and real creativity. And I think if you can keep your cash runway secure enough to get you to the other side, and that's what it's going to take, it's just about cash burn, then you will have, and you play with it, you kind of use this as a, you know, constraint is the author of creativity, you use it to be a kind of laboratory for experimenting with stuff that you may never have thought about before, then my God, your business is going to be on fire when the customer is able to, you know, to consume in the way that they once were.
Amazing, amazing. Well, that was quick and that was wonderful. Thanks again for spending this time with us, Helen. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for indulging me about, you know, with my passion. You know,
love it.
To talk about such an incredible sector of the economy. You know, and if you're a young brand, keep an eye on Brands of Tomorrow. Have a look at the website, thewalpole.co.uk. You might not be ready for it now, but that application process happens in the autumn every single year. So, you know, if you're an up and coming luxury brand, apply. We're here to support you.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Join us again next week. We'll be chatting mental health with fashion psychologist Shakayla Forbes Bell. Until then, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Oh, thank you. Lovely to talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.